Ever feel like your mind is just racing a mile a minute, like you're constantly juggling a million thoughts?
Mm.
And you can see like all sides of every argument and always looking for that next exciting thing.
Hmm. Sounds familiar.
Well, welcome to ASTRALX, eliminating your cosmic path. I'm Solarian Zephyr, your cosmic strategist.
And I'm Lunaria, Selene, your intuitive guide.
And we are so excited to be diving into the stars with you again today as we, explore how those celestial energies can really impact our lives.
It's always a joy to be back, riding these cosmic currents.
Now, today we are doing a deep dive into a specific astrological signature that, well, kind of doubles down on a particular energy. We're talking about the outlook for women born with both their sun and their ascendant in Gemini in 2025.
It's like having that Gemini energy amplified. Imagine experiencing the world through a kaleidoscope of perspectives, constantly shifting and evolving.
A kaleidoscope, I like that. And, it's not just a recent idea, right? The Gemini constellation itself, those twin stars up there, has always been linked with duality.
Absolutely. For centuries, those stars have been a symbol of duality across so many cultures.
So our mission on this deep dive is to really shed some light on that unique path ahead for these Gemini rising women in 2025. We're going to break down those key astrological influences and explore how they might actually show up in their lives. So to kick things off, what would you say really defines a Gemini Sun woman, like at her core?
At the very heart of a Gemini Sun woman, there's a vibrant intellect. She just has this natural way with words. Her communication is charming and captivating, and that all stems from a mind that is always active, always curious. She's got this intrinsic need to constantly learn new things and explore different viewpoints.
They're the ones at a party who can just effortlessly jump between topics, right? Always have something interesting to say.
Exactly, and they're never short of new ideas. And one of the most defining traits of a Gemini Sun is that adaptability.
Right. They just seem to go with the flow so easily.
Yeah, exactly. Gemini is a mutable air sign, so it embodies adaptability and versatility. These women tend to handle transitions with grace. They often juggle a lot of different interests and responsibilities, and they can just shift gears and embrace new situations without missing a beat.
And there's always a kind of lightness about them, too, wouldn't you say? That playful spirit and quick wit, it makes them so much fun to be around.
Absolutely. Their playful nature and that sharp wit are incredibly attractive qualities. They connect with people so effortlessly, and they often use humor to build rapport and even navigate difficult situations. And don't forget that inherent duality means they can see things from multiple perspectives, which gives them a really rich understanding of the world.
So let's add the Gemini rising to the mix, that first impression they make on the world. How does that layer on top of those core Gemini Sun qualities?
With Gemini Rising, you get an immediate sense of dynamism and engagement. These individuals are always on the move, both mentally and physically, always ready for that next stimulating experience. Their mental agility is obvious right away. They're quick-witted, they process information so fast, and they're just incredibly sharp.
So you immediately get the sense of someone who is super alert, ready for anything.
Exactly. And social situations are really where Gemini rising individuals thrive. They connect so easily with others, and they often become the life of the party. And even their personal style reflects that versatility, adapting to their constantly evolving interests and dynamic personalities.
It's almost like the rising sign acts as a spotlight, doesn't it? Amplifying those Gemini Sun traits.
I love that analogy. The Gemini rising is a lens that focuses and magnifies the core energy of the Gemini sun. It presents to the world this image of youthfulness, curiosity, and constant communication.
So now we've got this double dose of Gemini energy, the sun and the rising, both in the sign of the twins. What does that do overall?
It's like turning the volume up on all those classic Gemini characteristics. That inherent duality becomes even more pronounced. They're always aware of the multiple sides of every story, and they crave variety and mental stimulation even more. It's a real hunger for knowledge and experience.
That sounds so vibrant. But can it also be a bit much sometimes? Like, could they feel pulled in too many directions?
That's where the challenges come in. All that amplification can lead to restlessness and indecisiveness. There are just so many things to explore, so many paths to take. It's essential for these individuals to find ways to focus and ground themselves. Balance is key.
That makes a lot of sense. So given all this Gemini energy, what are some of the key planetary transits happening in 2025 that we should be aware of for these women?
Oh, there are some big shifts in the celestial landscape coming up. Let's start with the lunar nodes. They're moving into Virgo and Pisces on January 11th, and this is the beginning of a new eclipse cycle, which is always a time of significant change. What's really interesting here is that we have Virgo, which is all about practicality and analysis, facing off against Pisces, which is the realm of spirituality and imagination.
So how might that play out for our Gemini Sun, Gemini Rising women? What kind of balance do they need to find?
Well, think of it as an invitation to connect their intellectual pursuits with their emotional and intuitive understanding. So, for example, maybe they find ways to bring their innovative ideas to life in the real world, or maybe they explore the deeper emotional meaning behind their communication and their thoughts. It's about harmonizing the head and the heart.
Okay, so a dance between practicality and dreams. What else is on the horizon?
Well, we have Venus going retrograde in Aries and Pisces from March 1st to April 12th. Now, for anyone who isn't familiar with retrogrades, it's not that the planet is actually moving backwards, it's just an optical illusion from our perspective here on Earth. But astrologically, it represents a time when the energy of that planet is turned inward. And with Venus, that means relationships, values, and creativity are up for review.
So it's a time for some deep inner reflection in those areas.
Exactly. For these Gemini women, it's a chance to really look at their romantic partnerships, their core beliefs, and their artistic endeavors. They might see things in a new light or rekindle old passions as they figure out what truly brings them joy and fulfillment. It's all about going inwards.
Interesting. And then we have Neptune, the planet of dreams and illusions, changing signs, right?
Yes, Neptune enters Aries on March 30th, and it will be there until October 22nd. This is a big one, a slow-moving transit that impacts how we relate to our ideals, our aspirations, and sometimes even our illusions. It's a collective energy that affects everyone, but it will manifest in a particular way for our Gemini individuals.
So how might they feel this energy?
They might be inspired to take concrete action towards their dreams. The assertive, go-getter energy of Aries blends with Neptune's dreamy influence, which can be a really powerful combination. But Neptune can also blur the lines between fantasy and reality, so it's important to stay grounded. Make sure those dreams have a solid foundation in the real world.
So it's about balancing that Gemini tendency to dream big with some practical Aries action, but making sure those dreams aren't just pie in the sky. What about Saturn? That's the planet of structure and discipline, right?
Right. Saturn enters Aries on May 24th, and it's there until September 1st. And Saturn really asks us to step up and take responsibility. So this transit might bring a need for more intentionality in how they express their vitality, their drive, and their initiative.
So maybe less of that spontaneous jumping from one thing to the next and more of a focused effort.
You got it. For our Gemini women, this could be a really positive time to create more structure in their work and their personal projects. They might find it rewarding to channel all that diverse energy into a few key areas and see things through to completion. The rewards of focused effort will be apparent.
Okay, so structure and focus, some good lessons for a double Gemini. And then we have Jupiter, the planet of expansion and good fortune, also switching signs.
Yes, Jupiter moves into Cancer on June 9th, and Cancer is all about home, family, and emotional well-being. So this transit could bring a focus on nurturing their emotional lives and creating a harmonious home environment.
So it's a time to prioritize emotional nourishment and a sense of belonging.
Exactly. It could be a period where Gemini women invest more energy in their close relationships and really cultivate a sense of sanctuary in their homes, creating that cozy nest.
And then we have a big one coming in July, Uranus entering Gemini.
This is huge. A major long-term transit for anyone with strong Gemini placements in their birth chart. Uranus is the planet of unexpected change, innovation, and breakthroughs. So when it enters Gemini, it shakes things up big time in the areas of communication, intellect, and even identity for the sign itself.
Wow, so that's like a catalyst for transformation.
Absolutely. For women with both their sun and rising in Gemini, this transit could bring about radical shifts in how they see themselves, how they communicate with the world, and even their overall life direction. Embracing change and staying open to new possibilities is going to be so important during this time. It could be an exhilarating, even a little bit scary, but ultimately a very positive period of growth.
It sounds like they need to be ready for anything.
They do, but it's not all about Uranus, of course. Looking at the broader astrological picture, it looks like 2025 could bring some great opportunities for career growth, especially in the second half of the year. There's also potential for deepening those important relationships and maybe forming new ones, with open communication being the key, of course.
Communication, a Gemini's bread and butter. And what about on a personal level? Are there any overarching themes for them in 2025?
Personal growth is definitely a major theme. These women are being encouraged to step outside their comfort zones and explore new aspects of themselves and their abilities. It's all about expanding their horizons and seeing what they're truly capable of.
And what about health? Any insights there?
The overall outlook for health seems good, especially in the first half of the year. But with all that mental and social activity that's so typical for Geminis, managing stress is going to be crucial. Mindfulness practices, self-care, finding ways to unwind those are all going to be really important.
Okay, so 2025 is shaping up to be a very dynamic year for them, full of potential for change and personal evolution. Now, I want to touch on the topic of Gemini and feminine energy. There can be a lot of confusion about astrological signs and gender.
You're right. It's important to remember that in astrology, feminine energy isn't tied to biological sex or gender identity. It's a set of qualities that are often associated with receptivity, intuition, and nurturing.
So how does that manifest in a Gemini woman? How do they express that feminine energy?
Well, just think about their communication style. They're amazing listeners, and they're so good at connecting with people on a deep level. That's a beautiful expression of feminine energy. And their adaptability allows them to be receptive to different viewpoints. And their natural inclination to connect with others means they often play a nurturing role in their social circles. They bring people together and create a sense of harmony.
And isn't there an archetype that's often associated with Gemini that kind of embodies all of this?
Yes, the maiden archetype. Think of that youthful curiosity, that carefree spirit, that love of new experiences and knowledge. It's like they always have a beginner's mind, open to everything. That's very much a Gemini quality.
It really is. So they express their feminine energy through their intellect and their social connections.
Exactly. They use communication not just to exchange information, but to build understanding, to create connection, and to foster harmony. And that inherent duality within Gemini, that ability to see both sides of everything that can also be seen as an expression of feminine energy.
Hmm.
It's about holding multiple perspectives and adapting to different situations with empathy and understanding.
That's a beautiful way to look at it. And you mentioned something about a connection to Chinese astrology.
Yes, in Chinese astrology, Gemini is linked to the sign of the horse, which is known for its curiosity and adaptability, very Gemini traits. And the color red, which is associated with the horse, symbolizes their dynamic and energetic nature. It's fascinating to see how these themes resonate across different astrological traditions.
It really is. Now let's step back in time for a bit. What are some of the historical and astrological perspectives on Gemini? It's always so enriching to see how these ideas have evolved over time.
Absolutely. Linda Goodman, who wrote those wonderful astrology books that were so popular, once said, "A Gemini knows how to swerve you from your most stubbornly held convictions." And that really captures their persuasive nature, their ability to communicate so effectively that they can change your mind about anything. And Liz Green, a brilliant psychological astrologer, has explored the themes of Gemini's talkativeness and that core duality in depth.
It's amazing how much these astrologers have contributed to our understanding of Gemini. What about going even further back? What did the ancients have to say about this sign?
Well, Vettius Valens, a really influential astrologer from ancient times, described Gemini as articulate, the house of Mercury, emphasizing that connection to communication and intellect. And the ancient Babylonians associated the constellation of Gemini, which they called the Great Twins, with Nergal, a deity who is linked to both the underworld and vitality.
That's an interesting combination, the underworld and vitality. And of course, we can't forget the famous Greek myth.
Right, the myth of Castor and Pollux, the twin brothers who had different fates. One was mortal, the other immortal. Their story is all about duality, about brotherly love, about those contrasting natures that are so intertwined. It really resonates with the core essence of Gemini.
It really does add another layer of meaning to this sign. Now, as we look ahead at 2025, month by month, can we give our listeners a quick rundown of those key astrological influences we've discussed and how they might play out?
Of course. So in January, with the lunar nodes changing signs, it's all about finding that balance between dreams and reality. Then, in February, there's a focus on introspection, especially in relationships and creative endeavors, as Venus prepares to go retrograde. March intensifies that introspection, and with Neptune entering Aries, it's about balancing action with imagination. In April, as Venus finishes its retrograde, there's a renewed energy in love and creative pursuits. May brings Saturn into Aries, reminding us to be structured and disciplined in our goals. June shifts the focus to home, family, and emotional well-being as Jupiter moves into Cancer. And then, in July, we have that major shift with Uranus entering Gemini, a time of big changes in identity and communication. August is about integrating those new energies, embracing personal freedom, and getting innovative. September's eclipses bring endings and beginnings. October offers a chance to revisit dreams and illusions as Neptune goes retrograde. November highlights the importance of relationships. And December is, as always, a time for reflection and setting intentions for the year ahead.
That's a really great roadmap for the year. Now let's talk specifics. What about love, career, finances, and overall well-being for our Gemini women in 2025?
When it comes to love, 2025 is looking positive. There's potential for both new and deepening relationships, and intellectual connection is going to be super important. In their careers, adaptability and strong communication are going to be huge assets. They could see advancements and maybe even some exciting changes in their professional lives. Financially, it's a good idea to be mindful of spending, especially with Jupiter in Cancer, highlighting the home and family. Careful budgeting and smart investments are key. And for their health, well, the outlook is generally good, but with all that mental energy, managing stress is going to be essential.
So a year full of opportunities and possibilities across the board. Now for all those Gemini Sun, Gemini Rising women listening, what are some key takeaways, some practical advice to help them thrive in 2025?
My dear sisters, 2025 is a year to embrace all the wonderful complexities of who you are. Your duality is not a weakness, it's your strength. It allows you to see the world in all its shades of gray and to navigate its twists and turns with grace. So lean into your incredible communication skills. They're your superpower. Use them to build meaningful relationships, to handle challenges with diplomacy, and to express yourself with authenticity. And keep feeding your brilliant mind. You thrive on new experiences and knowledge, so keep learning, keep exploring, keep those mental sparks flying. But remember, amidst all the excitement, make time for stillness. Find those moments of peace and quiet to recharge and find your center. It will help you manage stress and stay grounded, and perhaps most importantly, be open to the unexpected. Uranus in Gemini is going to bring about some big shifts, and your flexibility will be your greatest asset. Embrace those changes and see where they lead you. You are such bright, multifaceted women with so much to offer the world. Your ability to connect with people and see things from different perspectives is a true gift. Trust in your inherent curiosity and let it guide you on a journey of self-discovery. Trust in your inner wisdom. Embrace the cosmic currents of 2025 and step into the light with clarity and joy.
What powerful and inspiring guidance.
Yeah.
You really highlighted all those incredible strengths that come with this unique astrological combination. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the year ahead for the Gemini Sun, Gemini Rising woman, I'm curious, what are you, our listeners, going to do with all this information? How will you integrate these diverse influences into your lives? What new parts of yourself will you discover, and how will you use your remarkable adaptability to navigate this exciting journey?
It's been an absolute pleasure exploring these possibilities with you.
Thank you so much for your insights, Lunaria.
You're welcome.